The FIA has come under fire from all sides for their handling of the Monza Grand Prix, with fans, drivers, and team owners all united in their condemnation of the sport's governing body. It appears that the FIA has been hell-bent on rigidly following their own rules, rather than striving to improve and make better racing happen, as seen in last year's season finale. Without further ado, let's look at the accusations leveled against them, why the Monza finale was such a disaster, and what it all has to do with last year's crazy season finale. The Italian Grand Prix ended in a disastrous manner as a late safety car period to deal with Daniel Ricciardo's broken-down McLaren lingered for such a long time that there was no time to resume the race before the checkered flag was waved. Surprisingly, it was Christian Horner, the principal of the Red Bull team, who was the first and most outspoken critic of the decision made by the FIA. It's surprising because taking the checkered flag under caution meant Max Verstappen finished unchallenged, but Horner believes that not having the cars race to the finish line was bad for the sport. He asserts that it was a violation of a fundamental principle that teams have long agreed upon, which is that it is essential that races do not end with the safety cars, leaving fans disappointed. In spite of the fact that the FIA placed the blame for the race's inability to start on difficulties in recovering Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren and stated there were no grounds to red flag the race because it was dangerous, Horner is of the opinion that there were sufficient opportunities to guarantee racing during the final laps. After picking up the wrong leader and then delaying getting the pack bunched up in the appropriate order, Horner believes that the race should have been stopped once it became evident that a restart was not possible. This is in addition to the FIA handling its safety car protocols better. This would have provided the track marshals with more time to retrieve Ricciardo's vehicle and clean the circuit in readiness for a 1 or 2 lap shootout. Horner is clear that the FIA must use what happened as a learning experience, with fans at the track expressing their displeasure at the situation by booing when it became clear that there would be no restart. I think there's always lessons to learn, but it goes against the principles of what we discuss, that it's not good to finish races under safety cars. If they would have known they couldn't get it going, they should have red flagged it and restarted, but obviously that didn't happen. Horner thinks there is nothing wrong with F1 sport ruling as they stand, as he downplayed the need for a change in rules to force a red flag if the safety car comes out in the closing stages. Instead, he is clear that the FIA is entirely to blame for what happened at Monza because it did not get its procedures in order. I think that one could have been sorted out in the time, to be honest with you. I think it was a case of picking up the wrong car. The safety car didn't pick up a leader, and then that caused a huge delay for them to have to catch up and then release the cars to catch up. I think you could have at least got 1 racing lap in there, most probably 2. Ferrari, unsurprisingly, is in the same camp, with the 2 frontrunners agreeing for the first time ever this season. We'll see how long that lasts. Mattia Binotto has since commented extensively on the subject, and while he does not advocate for rule changes, he does believe the FIA's procedure left much to be desired. His main point of contention was that lapped and misplaced cars were not allowed to overtake the safety car before it was too late, and he argued that the minimum lap time limit that ensures marshal safety should make such decisions easier for the FIA. If they are simply waiting for safety, we know that now there is a minimum lap time for cars who are released, so it's fully safe to run on the track at the time. So to wait so much is simply wrong, and it's not great for the sport. After Abu Dhabi last year, we had long discussions how to improve because the final objective, the final aim, is to try and restart the race as soon as we can in a safely manner, and I think that today certainly it could have happened. So the FIA changed a lot in that area, but still I think they need more experience as they need to do a better job because F1 deserves a better job in that respect. But despite Red Bull and Ferrari's complaints about the FIA's behavior and the way the race ended at Monza, it appears that the situation was simply the result of the safety car rules being followed precisely. Many parties have now suggested that once a race reaches a certain distance, a red flag should be thrown in place of a full or virtual safety car. There is currently no mechanism in the regulations to arbitrarily red flag the race without just cause, that usually being responded to a serious accident, attending to a driver, performing barrier repairs, or recovering debris. But perhaps there should be one. Fortunately, ahead of the Italian Grand Prix, it was announced that FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem will convene a meeting on Monday between race officials and F1 team managers to discuss a variety of sporting issues. Separate meetings between the president and F1 drivers took place over the weekend, but the FIA claims Monday's summit is the first of its kind since 2013. It is described as part of the president's ongoing mission to raise the sport's standards by bringing together drivers, teams, stewards, and officials in a collaborative effort. The late safety car at Monza will inevitably come up, but whether or not the teams, drivers, and FIA can agree on a solution is unclear. There appears to be some agreement on the subject, but most are avoiding talk of changing the rules. There are, of course, also those who see nothing wrong with the FIA's decision, including, perhaps unsurprisingly, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff. According to Wolff, the fallout from last year's Abu Dhabi controversy gave them the confidence to withstand any outside pressure to finish the race under green flag conditions. While rival team bosses questioned how events unfolded, Wolff insisted that everything had been done according to the book. Very clear, there's rules and they are written down. And from my perspective, whether I am Abu Dhabi traumatized or not, these rules have been followed to the dot today. There was a car out on track, there were marshals and a crane out there. That's why they didn't let anybody overtake. And then it was not enough time to restart the race once all cars caught up. So if one is not happy with the regulations and you want to have a big bang show in 2 laps of racing and then mayhem, I think I'm absolutely up for it. But then we need to change the regulations. So I don't think we should complain about anything that happened because it is the rules. When asked by the media if race control could have red flagged the race in order to ensure a green flag finish, Wolff dismissed the suggestion. Why red flag the race? If someone is in the wall, if the track is blocked, you red flag a race because you can't pass anymore. Something has happened. Why do you red flag a race just because you want to have a show of 1 lap or 2? I think change the regs and discuss with the FIA. Let's change the regulations. We want to have some really top last lap of racing. I'm lifting my hand for that. But it's not what is in the regulations today. But while he is open to a regulatory change, Wolff has made it clear that he doesn't want to be seen as a driving force for such changes. I don't want to create a headline here that Toto wants to change the regulations because the racing is shit. I think we should all sit down and say there is something we can do better. But what happened today is in the regulations book, and that's why it was applied. Would I have wanted to have a last lap with a pile of cars on top of each other in a chicane? Yeah, hell yes. Good TV, but I think we need to say, do we want to have a race finishing under green? And then we reverse engineer it from there. So you can see 5 or 10 laps to the end, we have a safety car. Let's red flag it and make sure that we are racing at the end. If that's in the regs, good, but there's much more clever people, the sporting directors, that will have some ideas. What are your thoughts? Was the FIA correct in their handling of the final laps of the Monza Grand Prix? Would it be preferable to impose rules to prevent races from being stopped by the safety car? Let us know in the comments section down below. And if you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. It helps us out a lot.